So looking at number 5 and 6, we want to write an equation in standard form with integer coefficients for the line with the given information. So the information I'm given a point and I'm given a slope. So if I'm given a point and a slope, I'm going to write it in point slope form first and then maneuver it into the form I want, which is standard form. So point slope form tells me y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to follow that. So I get y minus, my y1 is 1, equals my m, which is the 3/4, times x minus a negative 8. So I can rewrite that as y minus 1 equals 3/4 x plus 8. I'm going to distribute this through first. So I get y minus 1 equals 3/4 x. When you do 3/4 times an 8, you can do 3 times 8 divided by 4. So if I do 3 times 8, I get 24 divided by 4 gives me 6. So now I need to move the x's to one side and the numbers to the other. So I'm going to subtract 3/4 x, subtract 3/4 x. So I'm going to get, we're going to go ahead and move this up here. We're going to get a negative 3/4 x plus y minus 1 equals 6. Now we can add the 1. So I get negative 3/4 x plus y equals 7. And now we have to check that a value is a negative and it's also a fraction, and we don't want a fraction, so I have to multiply by a negative to get rid of the negative, and then I have to multiply by 4 because it's dividing by 4. So everything gets multiplied by that, and my standard form then would be 3x minus 4y is going to equal a negative 28, and I would be done. Go ahead, try number 6 on your own, following the same kind of example we just did. Pause the video, come back, and check your answer. So I end up getting 5x minus y equals 17. If you didn't get that answer, please stop the video, come over and talk to me, or ask a peer for some help. So here we go for number 7 and 8. We want to, again, write the equation in standard form using integer coefficients. Now I'm given 2 points. We don't have a formula that says I can go straight into this with 2 points. So what I need to do is I need to find the slope between these points first, and then I'm going to go into point slope just like we did before. So remember, slope is my m, which is just my change in my y's over my change in my x's. Ms. Fearing goes ahead and she says, well, I started at 3 and I went to 1. So 3 to 1 is my change in my y's, and that tells me I subtracted 2. And then for my change in my x's, I started at 1 and I went to 2. So I added 1. So negative 2 divided by 1 gives me negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the negative 2 as my m, and then I'm going to use this point here. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Just be consistent with the one that you use. And now it's the same as it was for number 5 and 6. So I'm going to plug it into my point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Distribute first. Move your x's over. I get 2x plus y minus 1 equals 4. Get your constant to the other side. 2x plus y equals 5. And then always check my a value is positive. A, B, and C are all integer coefficients, so I am good. This is my standard form. Again, try number 8, pause the video, and then come back and check your answer. I got 2x plus y equals negative 5. If you didn't get that, please pause your video again, come talk with me, or talk to a peer. So for 9 and 10, it's going to give me a word problem, and I just want to go ahead and write them in standard form with integer coefficients. So I want to go first label what my x and my y are going to stand for. So I have to buy $10, or I have $10 to buy carrots and tomatoes for a salad. Tomatoes cost $2 per pound, and carrots cost $1.25 per pound. So my two things I'm talking about are my carrots, so I'm going to call x carrots. And then tomatoes, so y is going to be my tomatoes. So we're going to go ahead and start writing this out. I know that my carrots cost me $1.25 per pound, so I have $1.25 times my carrots plus $2 for my tomatoes, and I want that to be $10. I have $10 to spend. So the issue we have right away, since we want this to be in standard form, is that a value is not an integer coefficient. So I need to multiply it by something so that it becomes a whole number and not a decimal. So I would times it by 4, which means everything needs to be times by 4. So I'd end up with a 5x plus an 8y equals 40. That would be my final equation in standard form. So number 10, you are moving into a new house. You can carry 56 pounds at one time. One box of books weighs 18 pounds and a box of clothing weighs 10 pounds. So I'm talking about books and I'm talking about clothing. So I'm going to call X my books and Y my clothing. So one box of books, so books is my X, weighs 18 pounds. So 18X plus box of clothing weighs 10 pounds, so 10Y, and I can carry 56 pounds, so it needs to total 56. All of these A, B, and C are integer coefficients, so this is standard form. I am done. So for 11 and 12, we want to graph the equations. And remember, anytime we are asking to graph something, we need to be in y equals mx plus b. We need to be in that slope-intercept form. So I need to solve these for y. So we know that distributive property is always the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to be left with y minus 3 is going to equal 2x plus 2. To get the y alone, I need to get rid of the subtracting 3, so I'm going to add 3. So I'm going to get y equals 2x plus 5, which tells me I'm going to begin at my b, which is the 5. So I'm going to begin at 5. And I'm going to move with the m, which is this. I always like to make it a fraction, so I'm going to write a 1 under it, which means I'm going to go up 2 and over 1. Well, you're going to notice it's going to put me off the graph, so I can also go down 2 in the opposite direction. And I'm going to do this until I have gone through the entire grid and then draw my line in. Same idea for this distributive property, so I get y plus 4 equals 1/2 x. Now remember, when you do 1/2 times negative 3, you can do 1 times negative 3 divided by 2. So I'm going to get a negative 1.5. So now I need to subtract my 4. Subtract my 4. I'm going to write this down here. So I'm going to get y equals 1/2 x minus 5.5. So don't let that decimal throw you off. I'm going to begin at the b, which is at 5.5. So I'm up here, about halfway between 5 and 6. And then I move down 1 over 2. Oops, sorry, up 1 over 2, right? Because they're positive. But again, that's going to put me off the graph, so I need to go the opposite direction, down 1 in the opposite way, too. And then go ahead and draw that line in. So 5 and 6 are very similar. Again, we need to be in slope-intercept form, so we need y equals mx plus b. So we got to get the y alone before we can graph anything. So I'm going to go ahead and move the x over first. So I'm going to subtract 4x since it's positive. So I get 2y equals a negative 4x plus 8. And then to get rid of the multiplying by 2, we divide by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write all this down here. I'm left with y equals negative 4 divided by 2 gives me negative 2x. And then 8 divided by 2 gives me plus 4. So I begin at the 4, and I'm going to move down 2 over 1, over and over and over again until I've gone my entire way through the graph, which means I can go up 2 in the opposite way. So that's going to be my line. Go ahead, try number 6 on your own, pause the video, come back, and check your work. Here's my graph for number 6. If you got something different, please come chat with me. So now it's your job to go ahead and try these. Complete Unit 1 Practice 4 before class on Monday. Have a great